Hello. Thank you for tuning in to this 2024 primary election candidate forum for the second House position in District 2. This forum is presented by the League of Women Voters of Thurston and Pierce counties in collaboration with Thurston Community Media. The League of Women Voters is proud to be nonpartisan, neither supporting nor opposing candidates of political parties at any level of government, but always working on vital issues of concern to members and the public to defend our democracy and empower voters. I'm Janet Hyre with the League, and I will be moderating this forum. James Allen will be our timer. Each district elects a representative to Washington State's legislative branch. The legislature is bicameral and is composed of the House of Representatives and the State Senate. The legislature determines the level and means by which citizens will be taxed, writes and modifies Washington state law, regulates other branches of state government, and helps Washingtonians to understand and work with state government. There are two candidates participating in this forum, Yana Cook and Michael Holloman. John Snaza and Matt Marshall were invited but were not able to participate. For this forum, each candidate will have the opportunity to answer a series of questions. We will call on candidates by reverse alphabetical order. They will take turns being the first one to answer the questions. Each question will relate to one subject only, and candidates should answer the questions posed. Candidates will each also give a 1-minute closing statement. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. If you need me to repeat the question, don't hesitate to ask. The timer will turn yellow when you have 15 seconds left and show a big stop sign when your time is up. If you don't notice the sign, I will let you know. We stress the importance of civility in our forums. Candidates, you will each have received the ground rules for the forum and have agreed to abide by them. Beginning with Michael Holloman, the first question is there action the legislature should take to stabilize the cost of rent?
Yes. So first off, one of the big problems with rent in Washington state is that we have a lot of large corporations who are buying the majority of the houses on the market, or a good chunk of the houses on the market. So what we need to do is limit the amount of homes that they're allowed to purchase, because they're buying these homes with cash, no inspection needed. So they're swooping them out from underneath folks who are first-time home buyers. So it's causing the price to go higher for those who are buying the homes. And then once they've accumulated a good chunk of the market, then they're able to increase those rental prices and turn a very large profit. So we need to cap the number of homes that these individuals or these big corporations are allowed to purchase and rent that way, so that way it'll bring the costs down across the state.
Thank you. Yana Cook?
Could you repeat the question, please?
I can. Is there action the legislature should take to stabilize the cost of rent?
Yes, thank you very much for that question. I do believe in the crisis condition of housing today, we are faced with renters that are working 2 and 3 jobs in order to make ends meet, and rents have been climbing up astronomically. And when you're working with 2 jobs and having difficulties meeting that, and the rents go up 10, 15, 20%, I think that causes many times people to be houseless and or live in their cars. And this has to end. And I do believe that when we have some communication, cooperation, and collaboration in order to reach out to landlords and to tenants to make sure that it's a reasonable amount that the rents will go up, like say no more than 7%, and work with the renters to make sure that they can afford that. And in the legislature, we can encourage that kind of cooperation, communication, and collaboration between the two people.
Thank you. Beginning with Yana Cook, the next question is, automobile traffic is a growing problem in our area. What would be your preferred method or methods to address congested roads and highways?
Thank you for that question. Yes, and everyone, I'm sure, has been experiencing the bumper-to-bumper traffic. And part of that is development planning. When you have developments that are planned well, you have traffic impact reports. Not only SEPA reports, but traffic impact reports and parking allowed in your subdivisions and in your developments. And that has been sorely put aside and wavered. And I think we have to stop that kind of waiver for developers and for developments. It is impacting everyone. Everywhere. As where I live out in rural Pierce County, from Roy all the way to Yelm, it's bumper to bumper starting about 3:30 in the afternoon and not ending till about 6:30. It's very dangerous for emergency vehicles to get through. It's appalling, and I think that if we have those measures and we actually ask them to, the developers and the planners to have those, we will see a bit of a relief on that level.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Holloway.
Yeah, the public transportation system in Washington isn't always great. It's put together locally, so it's really piecemeal here or there. But there's a lot of places that have really more robust public transportation in our state and across the country. I've spent some time living in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and they figured out how to make an efficient public transportation system that's free to ride. So if Coeur d'Alene, Idaho can do that, I think that we can do that here in Washington State, which will reduce the congestion on our roads. It'll also drastically impact our lower income earners. Right now, I've heard numerous stories from some of the employees that work for us, and it can take them 90 minutes to get from their homes in the suburban areas to get to work. 90 minutes one way. That's ridiculous. You know, that's more Pierce County, but we definitely need a robust public transportation system that is free to ride.
Thank you. Going back to Michael Holloman, the third question is, what role, if any, do you see for state government and reproductive health care?
Yeah, that is a huge one. Right now, you know, in Washington State, we've been able to maintain reproductive health care, but it's under assault across the country. Here, over there, we need to make sure it's codified in our Constitution in the state, so that way, if there's a lot of threats to reproductive health care that we're able to push back. There's pushes on the conservative side to register women's uteruses when they're pregnant. It failed, because obviously that's ludicrous, but just because it failed once doesn't mean that those things aren't going to come back. It's absolutely ridiculous. It does not belong anywhere near our government. We need to ensure that abortion is health care, okay? We need to make sure that on the left especially, we're not afraid to use that word. Abortion is health care. Women must have body autonomy. That is a zero-sum game in my book, and I'm committed to fight for that.
Thank you. Yana Cook.
Yes, and I agree with Mr. Holloman. This is a critical right of women to have reproductive control and decisions on their own body. And I really feel that the legislature can uphold that, because in 1970, Washington State approved the abortion law, and in 1991, I believe it was codified in Washington State. It has complete I think, support with most people in the state. And while I'm in the legislature, I will definitely preserve the right for women to choose and for us to continue to protect women's rights regarding their reproductive autonomy. So, thank you.
Thank you. Returning to Yana Cook, the next question is, what are your views on diversity, equity, and inclusion?
That's a good question, and thank you very much for that. I'm very committed to diversity, inclusion, and equity. We have to have, it's systemic. Racism is throughout our country and in all areas of our life, including health care, including not having access to good health care, specifically for Black women and minorities and elders. There's also redlining as far as housing goes. That cannot stand. Banks having some prejudice still to this day. It's systemic to make it difficult to have house loans, and it's difficult for people to have the ability to live in a school district, and those school districts get more money according to their zip code, and that's systemic, and that has to change. And so I will be working in the legislature to preserve those things, to change those things, and to protect social justice, and to protect equity, inclusion, and diversity.
Thank you. Michael Holloman.
Yes, so there are great systemic issues when it comes to that, because we still have generational poverty that it goes back for decades, and so you have communities that have experienced this: mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, great grandma, grandpa, living in these same situations and not able to get out of that. Now, myself, I was raised in a very poor area. But when you're a straight white male in America, you have a lot of opportunity to get out of those situations, right? You don't have the same opportunities in America if you are a woman, or if you're a minority, or especially if you're part of the LGBTQ community, and that's a shame. Our laws allow them to get out of it, but it's a mindset. So what we really need, I believe, is a public education on these issues, and to start to turn people's minds about these things, so that way that there is equity across the board, and that people have those opportunities that I was able to have coming out of a poverty situation growing up.
Thank you. Beginning with Michael Holloman now, the fifth question is, if passage of Initiative 2109 repeals the capital gains tax, what alternatives would you support to fund K-12 education, early learning, and child care?
The only other opportunity to fund that would be out of the general fund. Right now we use a lot of zip code specific taxing systems. So then those educational demographics, which are already at a disadvantage, continue to be at a disadvantage because there's less revenue going into those zip codes and those districts. But if we pull it out of the general fund, then we can make it a lot more equitable across the board and across the state. So that way we're not seeing as many underfunded areas as we currently are.
Thank you. Yana Cook.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yes, I can. If passage of Initiative 2109 repeals the capital gains tax, what alternatives would you support to fund K-12 education, early learning, and child care?
Capital gains is a good revenue stream, and I would be very, very sad if it got overturned, because there's billions of dollars that are going from that fund. It's a new revenue fund for child care and for schools. And I'm most qualified to answer this because of lived experience. I'm one of the first people in my family to get a college degree. I'm a business owner, an organic mini farmer, and I understand the need for schools and for childcare and for the commitment to that revenue stream. There are other streams that are not being taken out of the general fund that can help, but this is billions and billions of dollars. And I was just informed the other day that Bethel School District in Pierce County received $10 million from this fund. So I think it would be a real disaster if we don't back that in the legislature and preserve that revenue stream.
Thank you. Beginning with Yana Cook, the next question, the final question is, how would you address the need for more behavioral health services?
Oh, that's a very good question. We need behavioral health services for a myriad of areas in our state. And behavioral health needs to be a part of the justice system, and we need to have behavioral health therapists throughout and access to those clinics, and we need behavioral health to be a part of our justice system. When the police are called to an emergency and it turns out to be something that is not really a crime, then we would have behavioral health community experts to be called upon. We need to have behavioral health experts and counselors in our schools. We need to have clinics just like we have medical clinics that people can walk in to and use. It's very important to be responsible. We have put mental health on the back burner for too long. So I'm in the legislature. I will support that continuation of mental health facilities.
Thank you. Michael Holloman.
Yeah, so this is primarily the field that I've been working in for the last 15 years. And the biggest problem that we're seeing is that there is a low availability of personnel. There's not enough therapists, there's not enough behavior specialists out there. There's not enough folks going through the college education needed in order to receive the certifications to be qualified to provide those services. It's a provider issue. It's something that we have to spend money on. We have to incentivize education, and we have to have a system where we're going into the school saying, hey, students in high school, this is what this field looks like. It's an exciting field, you're helping people. So that way people are getting excited about it when they're in high school, so then they'll go into those education paths in the future. Because if we don't start doing that, it doesn't matter how much money you throw at this issue. If you don't have the people to fill those positions, we're never going to solve the problem. We need the personnel in the field in order to get what we need to the people who need it.
Thank you. That was the final question. You now have 1 minute for a closing statement, and we're going to begin with Michael Holloman.
All right, so I'm running in this election because I don't believe that this is an election that's conservative versus liberal. This is an election that's actually across the country. This is authoritarianism versus democracy. And on this side, you see two folks who believe in democracy, 100%. Yana's great. We both believe in democracy. And you want to ask yourself, because it's under assault right now, who do you believe is better equipped to fight the fight that is against authoritarianism? I believe that I am perfectly equipped to fight this fight, and I'm ready to fight it. Send me over to Olympia, and you can be sure that I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that our democracy is not assaulted.
Thank you. Yana Cook.
Thank you. And I want to thank the League. I appreciate your unbiased dedication to democracy. And why am I the best person for this position? I have lived in this district for over 30 years, and I've worked as a dedicated public servant for 17. I graduated from Evergreen State College. I am committed to community advocacy and volunteerism. And as a child from a military and union family, my parents led with strong community service values and volunteerism. And through my service, I have become very concerned. Ask yourselves, over the last 16 years, under this present representation, has your life improved? Well, I will champion safe streets, relief for small businesses, farmers, working families, respect to tribal sovereignty, and veterans. Our enormous growth must have attainable and sustainable development while conserving our natural resources. I have a viable plan to tap current revenue streams to ease taxation on property and provide full funding for schools and first responders. As your next state representative, I will be working for you. Put a cook in the legislature and change up the recipe. Thank you.
Thank you, Yana Cook and Michael Holloman, for participating in this candidate forum. We thank our partner, Thurston Community Media, for producing and airing it. We are indebted to Thurston Community Media for years of making these forums happen and educating the voters. We encourage our viewers to be a voter in the upcoming election on August 6. Every vote counts. Ballots for military personnel will be mailed on June 21st, and all other ballots will be mailed out around the 17th of July. And you may register to vote up to Election Day. Thank you for watching this 2024 Primary Candidate Forum.